So hi everyone, this is Paul Zelizer from the Money Makeover 2.0 site. And today I want to talk to you about the incremental approach I take towards working with people in improving their financial well-being. You know, every once in a while I get a call from somebody who's in a pretty desperate place around their money situation and wanting me to work some overnight magic. And people aren't always happy when I tell them, you know, it doesn't happen overnight. I call that the grand slam approach, that somehow we're going to use EFT or some magic law of attraction tool that's going to have money falling out of the sky in a period of 7 days or less. Unfortunately, it doesn't usually work that way. If I had a magic wand, I'd use it, but I don't. The fastest way I know to change your money reality is something that I call the incremental approach. Today I want to tell you about what the incremental approach is, how it came to be, and how you use it when you're working to increase your financial well-being. So let's take a concrete example of how you would use the incremental approach to make changes in your money world. Right here I have a printout of the emotional scale. This is available on my website under the free tools section. The writing is a little hard for you to read, it's kind of small, but just get the idea that down here at the bottom there's feelings like fear and depression and despair. And way up at the top are feelings like love and joy and appreciation. And it's much, much easier to attract people to do business, to attract a better paying job, if you're in a place of having positive emotions running through your nervous system. There's a lot of scientific evidence for that, as well as a lot of spiritual teachers who've been telling us that for a long time. The law of attraction is all about that. One of the things that I'm seeing often, a pattern I'm seeing often in clients these days, are patterns of worry and doubt. How am I going to pay the bills? The economy is terrible. I'm not sure. I doubt I can make any more money in this economy. I'm not even sure if I'm going to have a job, right? So, and some of these patterns have been going on for many, many years, long before this current economy. Some of those patterns may be even coming from things in our family's past, patterns around money before I was born that got passed on to me. So rather than try to jump in one fell swoop, what I call the grand slam, we're going to knock a home run with all the bases loaded, right? That approach oftentimes doesn't stick. It may work for a short time. We do a tapping session and then we feel better. But we get to a place of more positive emotion, but it's hard to stick because we're not used to it. We have this pattern of worry and doubt for so many years that it doesn't stick if we try to jump right to enthusiasm, right? How many of us have had the experience of going to a weekend workshop and you come home all excited and 2 weeks later it's almost like, what workshop, right? That's an example of why I feel so strongly about the incremental approach. So if you take a look at the emotional scale, if worry and doubt, they're down here at number 13 and 14. Well, maybe a more incremental step, just like a staircase from the first floor of a building to the second floor of a building. We don't expect to do that in one jump. A more easy place to shift our system into maybe something like boredom, which is number 8 on the list. So let me show you how we use EFT, or how I use EFT in this incremental way. And in this process, I would go through and help a client find those patterns of worry and doubt, think about where they came from, place them in their body. In this case, I'm going to say a worry in the pit of my stomach. And boredom is just like this yawning, sighing feeling in my chest. Okay? So karate chop. Even though I have these patterns of worry and doubt that live in my stomach, I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though I have these patterns of worry and doubt, maybe they came from my family, because there's a lot of worry and doubt about money in my family, I love myself and I'm willing to treat myself with kindness and compassion. Even though these patterns of worry and doubt are all around me because of the economy being so bad, and I don't know how I could feel anything else but worry and doubt in this economy, I love myself and I'm willing to treat myself with kindness and compassion as I explore new emotions to feel in relationship to money. The eyebrow. I've had these patterns of worry and doubt about money for a long time. the side of the eye. I feel that worry and doubt in my stomach, under the eye. Feels like a heavy lead churning anxiety balloon under the nose. I'm so used to feeling those feelings, it's hard to remember a time that I didn't. Chin. I'm tired of feeling worried and doubt around money. The collarbone. I'm curious if there's another feeling I could feel that's maybe a step in a more positive direction. Under the arm. Now I'd like to jump right to the top of the ladder and feel appreciation and enthusiasm about money. The eyebrow. But the reality is, I'm really used to feeling worry and doubt. Side of the eye. So instead of trying to go for the grand slam home run around money, under the eye, I'm exploring the possibility of allowing a little bit of a shift around money. Under the nose. I'm curious if I could feel more bored about money. Chin. Bored of the whole drama of worrying. Collarbone. Bored of feeling this worry in my stomach all the time. Under the arm. I wonder what it would be like to feel bored about the whole drama of money. Eyebrow. It's kind of funny to think of having a boredom party around money. Side of the eye. I've never tried that before. I wonder what would happen. Under the eye. I can imagine feeling boredom. Under the nose. It feels like a logical step from where I am now. The chin. I can imagine allowing myself the opportunity to feel bored about money. The collarbone. I'm really curious what would happen if I did feel bored about money for a while. Under the arm. There's a part of me that might really enjoy that, feeling something really different around money besides worry and doubt. And then take a deep breath. And another. So with this, I call this the boredom party. With this tapping sequence, and again, it would be more personalized in a session, individualized for the client. But as we cleared that worry and doubt, and their energy started to open to the possibility of boredom, I would talk to a client about slowly up the staircase kind of a way, in a stable way. So maybe for 3 days, having what I call a boredom party, really enjoying it, feeling the energy of something different in your system around being bored about the whole drama, about being worried, about being doubtful, and allowing your nervous system to feel what that feels like. And it's a very different experience to feel boredom than it is to feel worry and doubt. It's not where we want to wind up in the long haul, right? Because from a place of being bored, you're not likely to inspire a whole lot of people to do business with you or to your employer to give you a raise. But it's moving in a more positive direction. And that's the whole idea of an incremental approach. Being able to take one step at a time, increasing your money emotions in a more positive direction. And as that happens over time, it's actually, even though it's incremental, it's actually the fastest way for most people to make real significant money changes in their life. Because from boredom, other much more positive emotions, things like enthusiasm or passion or appreciation, aren't that far away. So that's the secret of the incremental approach. And I'd be very curious about how it goes as you experiment with this. I'm always looking for feedback, so please pass on feedback. And thank you very much for joining me in this series of videos. You might want to consider subscribing by pushing the yellow button up to the left on the Money Makeover 2.0 YouTube channel. Thanks so much.